Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Patterson for DA Sports always. Can't get the words in my mouth. Welcome back to the channel. Like I say, hope you're having a great December period. I know it's Christmas coming up and I'm really excited about that, obviously. Going to be great to spend time with the family, but today we are starting our brand new series of videos, programs, talking about a nation's greatest. This is going to be a series of programs detailing the cult figures, the biggest footballers, the biggest player from perhaps a minority country. We're talking about minority countries in this one. We're not talking about the Messi of Argentina, Ronaldo of Portugal, or Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Kaká, whoever, Pele from Brazil, and the likes, whoever you want to bring up. We're talking about minority countries, the big players who have been world famous, been such great players over the history of football, and especially in modern times. And we're going to be talking about how they've potentially taken their countries to areas they've never been before, whether it be to like World Cups, whether it be to success at World Cups or success at continental level, whatever that may be, guys. So we're talking about the players that have ignited or began that period of a golden era for these kind of minute countries. Remember guys, to like the video, comment anything at all, perhaps any suggestions of any players that I've got a few in mind that I'm gonna start videoing over the next few days or so. Maybe start getting them out over the Christmas period. We'll see what happens. Let's see how busy I am over the next wee while. Yeah, like, comment and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you guys. I know it's been a very long time since I posted, since I uploaded the video about what was going to be happening next to the channel, but I really wanted to get one out and really make sure that I'm sticking to my promise. If like at the very least that I'm getting videos out there. So that's great guys, thank you so much again. And today our first episode is going to be on George Weah, a Liberian player, now politician in his native country. We're talking about George Weah, one of the 90s best players. We're talking about world class player. We're talking about one of the best players Africa has ever produced, and certainly one of the best players to probably have never been to the World Cup or never been to different high levels that maybe the player of his ability could merit. So yeah, we're going to look at George Weah. We're going to look at his playing career, perhaps maybe certain controversies, where he was at his brightest, and where that sort of bright period took him, what successes he had, and yeah, and then we'll maybe go on to part of his political career after that. I don't know a huge amount about politics, so I'm not going to say anything that he's done or what party he's in, but certainly how he's come to prominence as now the president of Liberia in his native country. So we start off, this is George Weah. He was born in 1966 on the 1st of October in the capital city of Monrovia. I think it was in one of the poorest districts in the region, certainly where he was brought up. The young, now let me see how many, I think, yeah, he was the youngest, or certainly, let me just double check that, sorry, I forgot to talk about his family. I think he was one of 13 children. Yeah, one of certainly a huge amount of children from his parents, and yeah, brought up in Liberia and began his youth career in Liberia as well, before moving to his first club in 1985 at Bond Range United. He scored 1 goal in 2 games there, before then moving to the mighty Borough in the capital city. 7 goals in 10 games in the same season, before moving to the Invincible 11, where he scored a handful of goals, 24 goals in 23 games, winning them the Liberian Premier League title, and I think also winning the Liberian Cup as well. He then moved to Africa. He went to the Ivory Coast, scored a 1 goal in 2 games for Africa Sports in the Ivory Coast, before then moving to Tanore Yaoundé should I say, in Cameroon, where he scored again a very good goal scoring ratio of 14 goals in 18 games, and that was where the turning point took place. It was in 1988 when Monaco came calling. Monaco then managed under Arsene Wenger, obviously famous Arsenal manager, spent long range there. They signed him for £12,000, which is amazing considering what he would then go on to achieve over his next 4 seasons in on the French Riviera in the Principality. He would then go on to play 103 games, scoring 47 goals. So again, a really good ratio. He scored 17 goals in his first season, followed by 8 in a slightly shortened season. He only played 24 games in that campaign. 18 goals in the turn of the century, the year after, should I say, 1990 to 91 in 40 games, before his final season being 23 goals in 47 games. And in that penultimate season, season after his wee injury spell, I would imagine, the season after, should I say, his penultimate season, 1991, they would go on to win the French Cup in that season with Monaco. And then from there, obviously at his final season, probably his most successful season at Monaco, before then moving to the capital and moving to Paris Saint-Germain in 1992, where he would then score 32 goals in 96 games in between 1992 and 1995. And his goal scoring streak continued, and he then went in double figures in every season at PSG. 1992 and 93 was 23 goals in 45 games, so in equaling his tally from his last spell at Monaco, albeit in 2 lesser games as well. Well, then it would be 14 goals in 40 games, and then 18 goals in 53 games in what was actually a prolonged European spell as well, which meant he played more games. He scored 8 goals in 11 Champions League games that year. So as they went to, I think it was the semi-finals, I want to say. Let me just double check that. I think they did say the semi-finals. He reached the semi-finals a few times in different competitions. Let's see. Yeah, so they reached so at PSG, he was actually in the semi-finals of a lot of competitions. 1992-93, UEFA Cup, they went to the semi-finals. The year after, they went to the semi-finals of the Cup Winners' Cup. 1994, and then the following season they went to the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. Before getting beat in the last 4. As I say, he scored 8 goals in that period, in the 11-game period there. So a wonderful goal-scoring campaign in Europe for him this season. Much less so in the league, actually. He played 34 games in the league, only scored 7 goals. So he scored 1 less goal in 21 more games than he did in the Champions League in that season, of course. So from there, that was the first half. The first half of 1995. That was obviously 1995 was his most successful year. In the summer of 95, he then moved to the Italian giants of AC Milan, and in that respect, he was very much there to fill the void of Marco van Basten, who had just recently left the club in that time, and he would then forward the front line of Dejan Savicevic, who was a prominent player, especially in the turn of the decade for Red Star Belgrade, so in one of the most famous spells, which saw them win the 1991 Champions League. He would then move to AC Milan not long after that. And then, so the forwards front B of Dejan Savicevic, George Weah, and of course Roberto Baggio. So Roberto Baggio, obviously a very, very famous Italian player, probably a player who very much did at international level rather than at club level, especially at the higher tier clubs in Italy. Maybe some of the smaller clubs. Fiorentina was one, where he was very prominent and very much a cult hero down there. But certainly in the international period, Roberto Baggio was very much one of the greatest Italian players of all time. So from there, AC Milan, he spent 5 years, 1995 to 2000, constantly getting double figures until towards the end of the century there. 99 goals in 30 games, 1998, 1999, and then 1999 to 2000 he only scored 5 goals in 14 games, and in that time I believe he actually sustained a very long suspension. I think it was for breaking the nose. he was banned from 6 European games in 1996 when he broke the nose of Portuguese defender Jorge Costa against in the players' tunnel at a draw against Porto that season. That was the story behind that was supposedly Costa had allegedly provoked George with some racist abuse, and obviously that's something you don't like to hear. And apparently what Costa said was potentially lost in translation, or potentially not quite accurate in terms of it being racist abuse or even just abuse in general. So that led to the ban being imposed on Georgie Weah, and which kept him out of pretty much the entirety of the 1996-1997 Champions League. So yeah, basically just a few injuries that basically just halted the end of his AC Milan career. Very much well known as a wide forward player, and very much well known for his incredible speed, his incredible stamina as well. He's very much one of the most hardworking players you'll see on the football field. So yeah, from what I hear, from what I've seen from very few clips that I've researched about him, certainly a wonderful player who was just a speed freak. Somebody who a player that's very much the norm in the modern day, especially when you look at sides and like Man City, Liverpool, perhaps to a lesser extent Barcelona, although their build-up plays a bit more like that. But certainly like the Liverpool and Manchester City, who have got such an explosive, should I say, front line midfielders, whatever. So yeah, I mean, George Weah, from what I've heard, what a wonderful player he was. Talking about his individual honours, his career very much tailed out. He spent he spent one season in England actually. I think he had a short stint towards the end of the 1999-2000 season on loan at Chelsea. That was actually why his goals tally in that last season was probably so low, because he played very few games. He only played one half of the season before going to Chelsea on loan. He would only score 3 goals in 11 games and was very much someone that didn't really kick on in the same way that he had done in his previous 10 years. Obviously at this rate he would be 34, so he's obviously very much tailing off, and perhaps general losing his ability, maybe losing a bit of legs there. I think his goals were, he only scored a few goals. Like I say, he scored once against, so hold on, trying to read this so I can get this right. He scored 2 goals against Leicester in the FA Cup, and then once against Gillingham as well, and he also scored for Gillingham against Manchester City, which is his next club. His only goal was the goal for City against Gillingham in the following season to 2000. And then the following season he went and moved to Marseille, 2000-2001, 5 goals in 19 games before moving to the United Arab Emirates and to Al Jazeera for 2 years before retiring in 2003 at the age of 37. So a wonderful career, especially when you talk about Europe's big clubs, PSG and AC Milan, very much at the forefront of that in terms of his biggest seasons, winning team titles, Champions Leagues, and like I should point out, he actually didn't win the Champions League. He was Champions League top scorer, like I say, in 1985 with 8 goals, and won 2 Serie A titles as well, I should mention, with AC Milan, 1995, 96 and 98 to 99. But with PSG he also won League 1, 1993-94, and then 2 Coupe de France, 2 French Cup titles, 92-93 and 94-95, and then the French League Cup as well in 1995. So the French Cup double for PSG in his final season, and 1995 was certainly the breakout year and without doubt the best of George Weah's career at that point. In that year he was unanimously and undisputedly the best player in the world, winning not only the Ballon d'Or but the FIFA Player of the Year award in 1995, like I say. In that same year he was also BBC African Player of the Year, as well as the official African Player of the Year as well. He would also be featured 3 times in the FIFA 11 in 1991, 1997 and 1998, where he was also a reserve, a substitute, you could say, in terms of a team outfit in the 1996 season as well. In 1996, despite the suspension that he had, the six game suspension in Europe, he was also given the FIFA Fair Play Award, and I think it was yeah, I can't remember exactly what exactly went on in that, maybe previous to that, or maybe in the aftermath of that, which led to his award. I wish I could have known, but this is something that is just maybe a wee bit of a tangent. And then in 2004, Pele was asked to name the 100 best players of all time, in which he was one of them as well. He was also in the I think it was FIFA's list of the 100 greatest players of all time at the close of the millennium in 1999 to 2000. So many awards. These are to name a few as well. I think there's so many other awards that you could say as well. I don't know. But the Ons d'Or as well, that was another one. French Division, he was French Division 1 Foreign Player of the Year in 1991. He's also in the AC Milan Hall of Fame as well, and he's got so many other. It was actually World Soccer's 100 Greatest Players of All Time in 1999, and he was also African Player of the Century in 1996 as well. So yeah, so many individual awards. For his country, for Liberia, he played 53 times, netting 13 times, I want to say. Yeah, netting 13 times. He played 1987 to 2003, and then played one special game at the age of 51, where he came on and plays for the Liberian national team, and I believe it was maybe a charity game. I'm not sure, or it was some game that had maybe some kind of charity implications as well, but certainly it was an official international, so therefore he got an international cap at the age of 51, which is quite incredible, considering the era of modern football we live in now. You can't really play past 40, even 35 you're struggling to make a great career out of football. And he was also part of the only two occasions in 1996 and 2000 when Liberia qualified for the African Cup of Nations. They would go and they would only get into the group stages of that. They wouldn't get out of the group, but certainly he was someone who inspired the Liberian national team as well. He not only played for them, he not only coached them for a wee while, but he also paid and funded the national team personally. I don't think there was any kind of group involved in it. It was very much his own money. Like he very much knew he was a privileged player who wanted to give something back to his nation, not only by funding the national team, but also his what he would provide politically in the future. He then began a bit of humanitarian work, working with football and children, and trying to basically get children into football and basically provide a livelihood for these kids in many different countries. He was also UNICEF ambassador, global ambassador, before beginning his political career. Yeah, so his 18-year football career then turned into a foreseeable political one. He served as a senator for the Montserrado County for 3 years, January to January 2015 to 2018. He served as senator before becoming president in 2018 of Liberia, the 25th president of Liberia. So an incredible journey, a brilliant football career, and no doubt someone who is an icon for Liberia. Yeah, it's incredible what he did. Incredible. I can only imagine what it would have been like in Liberia, watching George Weah potentially play every week, and having him now as president. Whether I don't know how good he is. He's working for the Congress of Democratic Change as well. So he's definitely someone who's pro-democratic. Maybe I don't know a huge amount about Liberia and exactly what background he had in the past. Certainly before he became president, but certainly someone who is certainly a public icon and very much very much well deserved for George Weah. Anyway guys, also it's worth mentioning that Timothy Weah, obviously his son, is a PSG youth product, recently played for Celtic on loan. I'm not actually sure where he's away to now actually. Let me just double check where he's away to. I think I did see where he'd gone, but I can't actually remember. And it's actually quite fascinating to hear that he's actually he's also USA international, Timothy Weah. That's also quite interesting. We're obviously his father's Liberian, very much Liberian since the day he was born, and obviously he's now the president now. So obviously to have his son as an American international is quite fascinating. He's now at Lille, I've just noticed. So yeah, a fantastic career, like I say, and now very much one for the politics in the future. Anyway guys, that's going to be the first episode of A Nation's Greatest. We talked about George Weah and Liberia, what he achieved in football, and exactly how he became a global icon, and very much an icon in Liberia as well. I know this is maybe a bit of a nervous one, you know, maybe starting a new season, still trying to maybe do a bit more research on these incredible footballers, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what's next. We'll be back with a new one very, very soon. Until then guys, thank you very much for watching. I know it's been a while since I've been uploading, but it's great to be back. Apologies if I was a bit nervous, maybe having an all a wee bit, maybe needing to do a wee bit more keyboard clicking, scrolling, all this kind of stuff while I'm on camera. But I promise it won't be like that in the future, or certainly not to that extent. But anyway guys, until the next one, I hope you have a great time enjoying the football, and yeah, just enjoying the 7 months and the run up to Christmas as well. Until then guys, until the next one, like I say, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care.